Guys, Richard at Ride and Zoom here, rather in my garden, doing my latest Star Wars book review, and this is for Kenobi. Now, I'd read the odd bit of EU over the years, like the first book I read was the children's version of Phantom Menace, the lead up to episode 3, or rather after I got really into it, particularly only the prequel trilogy era EU, so the episode 3 book, the Dark Lord book and Labyrinth of Evil, which make a trilogy. It's Dark Lord. This bit was the hardback. This ain't my original copy. It just looks like it. And then, of course, Darth Plagueis soon after. But in 2020, after basically just finally having enough of Disney's trilogy, how bad it had gotten, I thought perfect reason to finally go back and read the EU. And to be honest, this is what put me off. That's just a taste of how much there was. That's just the books, not even the junior books, not even the comics, just the full novels. And yeah, I thought, why not? Things can't get any worse at Disney Star Wars. I know they're TV shows, but films were a complete wreck at that point. And I was like, yeah, I'm finally reading the real story. And of course, expanding from what I'd read for the prequels. Oh yeah, Republic Commando, the Order 66 god-awful book, and then Imperial Commando, I read those as well. So I hadn't read the start of them, I read any others. And yeah, 2020 I still read some of the Disney era ones like Catalyst, which is an absolutely superb prequel to Rogue One, the Ahsoka book, a few other ones. Oh yeah, no, God, I can't remember. But basically by 2021 I thought, let's finally do it. Just go online, check out what people recommend. Often it was the whole lead up to the new Jedi Order. Some of it was Disney canon stuff like Lords of the Sith, for example, and Tarkin. Tarkin feels like EU. But primarily from 2021, I thought I'd finally read the EU. So I started with Heir to the Empire, and this was actually one of the next ones I read. I remember actually I was moving house in 2021, picked this book up off Amazon for like dirt cheap, and it was in German, so I had to get it returned and then buy a copy elsewhere. I think I got this off eBay. So this was one of the first ones I read in May 21. I also read ones that weren't part of the this timeline, like Obi-Wan's age. So I read the Darth Bane one 1,000 years before the prequels. So anyway, I've read them, and since for those 5 years I've been reading all of them, and I've basically got to my ending point. I'll do a full-on video about this later. So I thought I'd basically end my EU journey with Kenobi again, because I only read it the one time, so I thought, yeah, second read, that could be good. So here comes my review for it. So really, really good. So many parallels to Dark Lord, where a lot of people criticise this for the fact that Darth Vader is not the main character. He appears every now and then it's a huge parts of his point of view. Similar with Obi-Wan, and I feel like Obi-Wan gets more page time in this book, because the Obi-Wan plot in this is Obi-Wan is obviously on Tatooine having to keep Luke safe while trying to communicate with Qui-Gon in time as well. But of course, Obi-Wan gets drawn into trouble. He can't let everyone know he's a Jedi. He has to keep his lightsaber hidden. But he can't just do nothing when bad things are happening. So he ends up in a conflict between Tusken Raiders and farmers. And he's wondering if he can, he's still got to keep an eye on Luke. Obviously, he knows Owen doesn't trust him, and why not? Owen thinks he got Anakin killed because of being, the Jedi got wiped out by the Republic, and he doesn't want Luke to get hurt in the future. So naturally, he doesn't trust Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan and Owen have a sort of truce, uneasy truce, I suppose it feels like. Obi-Wan's keeping his distance either way. And yeah, Obi-Wan, of course, has got like a miserable 19 years ahead of him, so he obviously naturally wants some company, so he's got to be careful and avoid. And of course, Obi-Wan just can't avoid trouble, it seems to find him. So you get loads of other characters, like this woman he has a connection with, which you feel like is setting a relationship up. But of course, if you've read these, if you've seen the film, you know that that's not going to happen. It actually references to both Obi-Wan's love interests, Ciri, for anyone who's read particularly the Jedi Apprentice books. In fact, I think they're the only ones she appears in. And then, of course, Satine from the Clone Wars show, from the whole, I just call it Disney canon. Clone Wars feels so different to the EU. Yeah, those Obi-Wan's love interests over both eras, and I never expected anything to happen. Well, it weren't going to. Obi-Wan's got a job to do there, and it basically ends with him helping her. She ends up leaving. She kind of breaks through Obi-Wan's barriers. She realises that something terrible has happened to him, but he just can't talk about it. And in the end, Obi-Wan has to be firm and just tell her to, she has to go. He basically gets her a great university placement in Alderaan. It's quite obvious whose contact is, who he got her and her family places there. So that's quite cool. So yeah, basically Obi-Wan just helps. He talks to the Sand people, who are of course up to no good. There's reference to what happened there, like Jabba the Hutt basically arranged a massacre over 10 years ago, and of course a massacre 3 years ago when Obi-Wan, finds out about that, particularly how all the children were killed as well. There's this moment where Obi-Wan is remembering what happened at the Jedi Temple, clearly, and yeah, basically Obi-Wan manages to save the day, kill a great dragon, which is awesome. I know A New Hope opens and you see a gigantic skeleton in the desert, and I never thought that'd be the same one. And yeah, Obi-Wan actually in a battle when the great dragon comes out of nowhere when he's trying to stop the villain of this story. And yeah, Obi-Wan just defeats it, flips, dodges, lightsaber strikes, and takes it down, which is extremely cool. So the Tuskens are impressed, like they've seen what Obi-Wan can do. And they also leave Obi-Wan alone. Like, there's no mention of Obi-Wan making a deal to leave the Lars' home alone, but I get the feeling that was done as well. But yeah, they understand Obi-Wan doesn't really have many possessions, but the Tuskens who saw him kill a great dragon know he's got great power. And another reason I reread this, actually, because I've read, spoilers here, there's the Star Wars Legacy comics set 100 years later after the New Jedi Order books. So, Darkness trilogy. So basically 140 years after A New Hope. So 160 years after this book, nearly. And there's the leader of the new, the one Sith is called Darth Krayt, who was actually born as a Tusken Raider. And I had no idea about that story back then. So when I read this book, I wasn't looking out at all for the name Asharad Het. And as I now know that, I was looking for it, and spoilers for anyone who's into the Legacy comics or doesn't really want to know the backstory, or doesn't really want to know about the Legacy, spoilers, so just stop watching now for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so Asharad Het's dad was born as, basically left the Jedi Order, became a Tusken Raider, had a child, Asharad Het left the Jedi Order, became a Tusken Raider, had a wife and a son called Asharad Het, who becomes Darth Krayt, the leader of the One Sith. Somehow is able to extend his life well beyond what should be possible, because the human average age is, I think, over 100, like maybe 110 at max. And yeah, if he's a child in this book, you never see him, but there's a mention of him. So if he's a child here, 160 years before Legacy, let's say he's a 10-year-old. That means, yeah, he's got age 150 years by then, so he obviously does some dodgy, dark side stuff to keep himself alive. But yeah, I admit, being aware of his backstory through the Legacy comics, I was kind of hoping he'd show up. He didn't. I don't know if there's ever comics where Obi-Wan meets him or anything like that. I don't know if Obi-Wan can duel his dad, perhaps. I don't know, but that doesn't happen here. But knowing of the character, I was kind of looking for it, or the reference. Like on my Instagram post, I put, one word, Krayt. So yeah, if you have read Legacy comics and are looking for reference in here, read it. He's not like an adult who'll duel Obi-Wan or anything like that, but his name comes up, which is pretty cool. Always like the EU books when they references to anything out there. It's why I like James Luceno's work so much, because he's the king of that stuff. Yeah, John Jackson Miller knows his stuff too. So yeah, that's basically the ending. Obi-Wan, potential love interest leaves, but she says she feels really sad for Obi-Wan. She wanted him to go with her, but he can't. But then she does come to realise there is a reason he's there. He can't say what it is. He mentions he's looking for care over family, and she figures maybe in 10, 20, 40 years he can find peace and move on. Kind of does happen. He basically helps Luke and finds his peace. So yeah, it's a nice ending. It's just cool that Obi-Wan and the Tuskens work together. The Tuskens are savages, no denying that, but they're able to kind of work with Obi-Wan and even the settlers, well, the good ones, because there's a pretty lousy guy who is like the villain, plans to tell the Empire who Obi-Wan is, because he watches Obi-Wan take the dragon out, but then basically gets taken prisoner by the Tuskens and forced to live with them to make sure their water evaporator works. And yeah, he basically swears never to talk again after that. So they're yeah, you stay here with us, make sure the evaporator works, or you die. So that's his future. Obi-Wan's got no danger of his secret being revealed. Yeah, and of course, I'm going to go to this now, because I thought I'd give this a read right after. So the Obi-Wan book actually starts before episode 3 even ends, because Obi-Wan is riding that little camel creature, an Aopi, with a bundle in his arms, which is Luke. He's asking where the Lars are, so it opens with him on his way to finding the Lars and going to their home. And it covers maybe a month or two, from the point the film opens with that. And then about, I guess, 5-6 months later, you get the ending of this book. So this is all Darth Vader's book from pretty immediately after episode 3. Some clones do not execute Order 66. They refuse to do it. Two things: they believe it's wrong, and they also believe this could have been a separatist trick. Darth Vader is sent to make them pay, and the story's about basically the Jedi that survived Order 66, that the clone commanders didn't gun down, and it ends with Darth Vader taking them all, not all of them out, but the strongest one. And shortly after, because that's the Battle of Kashyyyk, where the Wookiees are then enslaved, the Empire see that's a perfect way. The Wookiees were working with a traitor Jedi, they've all got to pay, so let's enslave the ones we didn't kill. Obi-Wan, about 4, 5, 6 months after Episode 3, so a couple of months after his book, he's in a bar on Tatooine where he's gone for supplies, and it's on the holonet him seeing a figure in black killing Wookiees like really, really easily and taking some Jedi out. And he, their name is Darth Vader, someone who seemingly sympathetic to the Jedi, perhaps. Tells Obi-Wan what's just happened, and Obi-Wan of course horrified, has a massive breakdown. The guy calms him down, tells him, this force-forsaken planet isn't as remote as you'd think, and leaves. And then Qui-Gon talks to Obi-Wan. Though in this book, it's all about Obi-Wan trying to talk to Qui-Gon either in his head or out loud, and there's no response. And the reason is James Luceno apparently just wanted him to have the first scenes with Qui-Gon talking to Obi-Wan. And that's the point, Qui-Gon can only talk, he can't ever take physical form. So he just talks to Obi-Wan, and it's one of my favourite chapters in this book. Obi-Wan panicking, is Anakin Darth Vader? Yes, but the Anakin we knew is imprisoned by the dark side. It's like, should I take further steps to hide Luke? Like, nope. The core of Anakin that resides in Vader understands Tatooine is the source of nearly everything that causes him pain. Vader will never set foot on Tatooine, if only out of fear of awakening Anakin. And Obi-Wan's just so relieved, oh, thank God. So I can continue my mission. He's safe here after all, because Obi-Wan's first thought is, what the hell was I thinking? Bringing Luke here? Anakin's only family, he'll come here? Like, Qui-Gon, no, he won't. And it's true. Like, from what I've seen of all the comics, the books, Vader never comes to Tatooine. Yeah, he sent his stormtroopers there. The Death Stars were in range of Tatooine when, the Vader Star Destroyer rather at the start of Episode 4. But yeah, Vader can't go to Tatooine, and that is why whatever's left of Anakin inside him, it'll just bring back the memories, and he just can never go to Tatooine. Like, I'm sure there's a comic where Palpatine basically says, I'm giving you a planet, Tatooine or Naboo, which one do you want? And he's like, not Tatooine. So yeah, I just love that you finally get that dialogue with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan talking to each other. You don't get it in Kenobi, and Obi-Wan is trying, but you get it here. So I had to read this right after. It's such a sweet ending, and Obi-Wan's like just relieved, because he can continue his mission and be able to communicate with Qui-Gon. And another good thing about this, actually, I really should do a sort of duo review, but basically one of the final bits in the Kenobi book is Obi-Wan saying that keeping Luke safe is something to live for. In this book, Vader's thinking about Palpatine's lack of Sith training. Palpatine's basically handing out bits of knowledge, just to keep Vader sweet, but not giving him enough to make him much stronger. But Vader believes one day he will be at his full potential, and will take an apprentice of his own to overthrow Sidious and to take the throne. It gives him something to live for. So there we go. What Obi-Wan has to live for is saving everybody with the right person. Vader just lives for revenge. It's quite grim. That's Darth Vader's life, and it just shows the difference. Another cool thing about these covers, if I can get the camera right, is, there we go, they're basically the exact same pose. Vader's got loads of flames behind him, so it's more of an actiony one, but Obi-Wan's got his lightsaber more defensively, 2 hands on it, and yeah, they're both facing the same way, which is kind of cool. It's a bit like the Jason and Jaina New Jedi Order books, how they do, except they're more like facing each other. Those are just the same pose but different way. So that's it, and that's the end of my EU journey. I'm not quite done. I've got my New Jedi Order. I've read that plenty of times. Got my Young Jedi Knights books, which I've bought ages ago, but still don't own one of the books because it's quite pricey. There to read to my son as a bedtime story, but also enjoy for myself at some point. There's the odd book like Cross Currents, the Karen Miller Clone Wars books, but I get a thing they're more like the new canon Clone Wars anyway. There's like Coruscant Knights, I think they call it. There's one called The Last Jedi. But no, I'm really not bothered about those. I probably will eventually turn to Star Wars books. I mean, I'll probably love the thought of saying I have read every Star Wars book out there. But this has been an epic 5 years, and frankly, my Warhammer book collection has soared recently, because they've been some amazing books coming out. A lot of hardbacks from October, which I don't buy unless they're a very special book. I've started seeing the paperbacks come out, so I've been collecting those. Green Tide, for example, I've always just started that because I had read the book War Boss, which was in there, and as I've basically read one of the 2 novels, thought, yeah, let's read the other ones. So all the Star Wars books are done. Basically, my pattern was usually Star Wars, Warhammer, or something like Warhammer, and then a third book, often like a children's one, like the Farthing Wood book, Roald Dahl book, the Redwall book, which is split into 3 parts I've been reading. And with Star Wars gone, Warhammer will just get moved up to spot 1. So Warhammer, I'm reading James Patterson's books again, like the second half of his Alex Cross series, because I only reread the first half in 2023. And then something else, so I picked up the Demon Headmaster books again, which is going to be awesome. Continuing with The Witcher, every 4 James Patterson books, I'll read the next Witcher one. And yeah, it's just a way to get through those. So once I've burned through my Warhammer books a couple of years, now I return to Star Wars. I mean, there's the Disney canon books, which I'm not fond of because of the timeline, but Brotherhood has always been a tempting read because anything like Obi-Wan Anakin could be good. I just have to ignore the fact that it never made sense for Anakin to be knighted 6 months after Episode 2, especially because he like blew the fight against Count Dooku. Anakin was not mature enough to have an apprentice. Ahsoka, he was certainly not mature enough to be a knight in 6 months. That's what bugged me about the Clone Wars show. But if I ignore that, hopefully it's just a well-written book. I mean, I enjoyed Master and Apprentice despite the completely stupid changes of the timeline. E.g. Dooku suddenly left the Order 8 years ago. And then in some media, he has left a year or half a year for Phantom Menace, when everyone knows he left because Qui-Gon died. Yeah, he joined the guy who trained his killer, which is, you know, questionable decision to join like the master of, you know, his apprentice's murderer. But yeah, we look at him, you know, falling for Sidious's words and wanting to fix or rather tear down a corrupt, decaying republic, then okay, I can get that. And so, you know, like all con men, they just, as it says in the episode 3 book with the annotations, they give you something you want and twist the words to make it sound good. And yeah, Count Dooku's obviously turned into a total monster, but ignoring that stuff with the Dooku timeline change, I still enjoyed Master and Apprentice book. You know, it's Disney canon, and the Jedi Apprentice book series is frankly superior, although I hadn't read that at the time 3 years ago. So yeah, there's plenty of Disney canon ones out there I do want to read. There's plenty I don't, like this, like Legacy, the Leia and Rey book, like Way to Steal Legacy, a famous Star Wars title, like the film New Jedi Order, or even the ones that I will want to read one day because they are in the EU timeline, e.g. Coruscant Knights, but I'm not bothered for a while. I've got a huge backlog now, especially when I keep picking up new books, e.g. Demon Headmaster. My games backlog is still massive, particularly for the handhelds, so I'll return to Star Wars in a few years or so, but for now this is a pretty sweet 5 years, and rambled on way beyond the Kenobi review, Kenobi/Dark Lord, but hope you enjoyed this vid, and I'm going to do a bit bigger vid soon, my 5-year Star Wars celebration, we'll call it. Could be hard because of my book case placement, but I can work something out. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and it's nice actually while it's summer because I can do it outside, it's not gone dark yet. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I really got to start getting some Warhammer book reviews up, because now I'm quite into Warhammer. I've got models, I've read loads of the books, I've played the Space Marine games. It's quite criminal this channel's got nothing Warhammer-y, it's just, I don't know what it is about Warhammer, it feels hard to review the books, because there's just so many characters, and most of them don't ever show up again, who knows, but yeah, I'll figure something. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I've got one more Star Wars books vid to go, which I will share with you one day. But yeah, thanks for watching.